Welcome back, everyone, to Purple Noon, a podcast with me, Stephanie Conti, and the BB Anderson to my Liv Ullman, Savanna Lanausse.
That's on spot. Hello, everybody. Welcome back.
So before we get started into things, I want to do a little celebratory spot. My good bestie, Alyssa Ragney, has just received a internship with Pixar.
Yay!
She right now goes to she just finished Ringling College for animation, and I wanted to give her a little congratulations on the air. And she's really talented, and you guys should follow her at Alyssa R_art. Once again, that is at Alyssa R_art. And tell her congratulations.
Congrats, girl. She's about to make the next Pixar blockbuster. Look out for her.
She's going to kill it in the game. She's going to kill it. We're going to be reviewing her movies soon.
Of course.
My voice soon. Sorry.
Well, actually, we were thinking of having her on, excuse me, because we'll probably do a Pixar episode. So we have to bring in the expert.
We gotta. Because movies aren't just about real people. It could also be animations, too.
What? Where did that? Okay.
All right. So, not only am I welcoming you to Purple Noon, the podcast, I'm also welcoming you to Purple Noon, the game show. Woo, 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 woo. All right. We're going to make this quick, Savannah. So, what's your wager?
Let's go 1,000. I'm feeling risky today.
So for the viewers who don't know, I'm going to give her a famous pickup line, air quote, and she's going to try to name the movie. So the famous pickup line is, well, this is, okay. Mind if I get drunk with you?
Okay. That's it?
Yep. And you can either ask for...
That could be any movie ever.
I know. You can either ask for the character, who plays the character Fontaine, who plays... Is it Fontaine?
You said Fontaine?
Is it Vanlin? Fontaine? I can't read. Either male character, female character, or director, or year. Actually, I'll give you the year as a freebie. Okay. 1932.
Oh my God.
1932.
I don't... Can I have... So I get the year for free. Can I have...
the year for you free. Do you want actor, actress, or director?
Let's go with actor.
Good choice. Clark Gable.
Okay. This could be a lot of things. I don't know. So, Clark Gable.
Mm-hmm.
What came out?
It's a two-word title.
Two-word title? So it's not It Happened One Night and it's not Gone with the Wind.
Mm-mm.
I'm trying to think.
I'm going to give you a freebie. The actress is Jean Harlow.
I think I know it. Just because it's Jean Harlow. I don't know if it's the title is even right, but like it's like a plantation or something, and I only know it because I think I only know it because I saw it in a compilation video once. Is it like The Dust?
Holy crap, Savannah. I am proud of you. It's called Red Dust, but I'm going to give it to you because have you been reviewing? Did you look up the box set?
No. I when you said Clark Gable and when you said two words and then I remember the Jean Harlow. That's what I remember about that movie is Jean Harlow.
Wow. Congratulations, Savannah.
But I would have never got it.
So far.
I would have never got it if you didn't tell me all of them. So thank you. Thank you for basically.
Yeah, do you think anyone else on this earth would have gotten it?
No. I mean, no, probably not. But like I wouldn't have got it if you just said Clark Gable either. I would have guessed something else. So thank you for your help. Thank you for giving me one.
Congratulations. All right. So,
wait. Wait. I have a question for you.
Yes.
I came prepared. So if everybody knows, I guess by now, that Stephanie's a big Marlon Brando fan.
I'm the only Marlon Brando fan alive.
So I have two questions here. If you get the first one right, we'll move on to the second one. But if you don't, I'll save the second one for next week.
Okay.
They're quick,
I'm ready.
so they're not going to be long. All right, ready? How many children is Marlon Brando said to have?
Oh, it's a wicked amount. It's not like 5. I think
I will take 3 answers to this because there's not like I didn't see one certain number.
So I know he had like 4 wives. 1, 2. He had like 3 kids with the 3 or 2 kids with the Polynesian woman. I want to say in total, he probably only has like 6 of them that are public, but I'm gonna guess 15.
You are correct. Wow.
I know.
The answer is 15 to 17 because he adopted some, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, wow, Stephanie. All right, first one right. Okay. The last one I have. During some of his movie productions, what weird and dangerous habit would he develop?
Oh.
I didn't know this one, so.
I think I know. Not because I don't know if it's a weird and dangerous habit. There's one of 2 answers. One, he always liked to do pranks on sets and stuff like that. The second one would be this dude could eat everything in sight to a point where, like, when he played Napoleon in a movie, they had to make like 40 different pairs of trousers because he kept busting out of them. So it's either going to be pranks or him just eating nonstop.
So you are right with the eating. The basically what he would do is he would go on these crash diets to lose weight because everybody towards the end of his life was like, you need to lose weight. But then he would not do it and then eat everything.
His wife would have to put locks on the fridge, like his last wife.
This man's appetite, like, was insane. And I remember you telling me, the reason I looked it up is because when I was watching Apocalypse Now, apparently, like, he was supposed to lose a lot of weight for that. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons Coppola threatened to kill himself was because he did it. So, like,
that's great. Yeah, and like even on like A Streetcar Named Desire, like when he's eating at the table and he gets mad and like he does the speech where he's like, "I'm not a Pollock," and he does that speech. They did that scene like 6 times, and every time he ate the full plate of food. It was all real food, and he ate it all.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, dude had a wicked stomach.
But wow, you got them both right.
Thank you.
If anybody doubts that you're like a real fan, here it is.
If anyone, this is an invitation. If anyone out there thinks they're a bigger Marlon Brando fan than I, step up to the plate. Let's go mano y mano on this, okay? Good, because I want to defend this title.
All right. Let's get into the 2 movies we're going to review today.
So I'm going to start. So the 2 movies we're going to be talking today and doing somewhat of a comparison to are going to be 3 Women and Persona. Right now I'm going to introduce 3 Women. So 3 Women was made in 1977 by writer-director Robert Altman. And it talks about 2 roommates, it's about 2 roommates and / physical therapists, one a vain woman and the other a mysterious teenager, share a bizarre relationship. Absolutely. And the main actresses are Shelley Duvall, Sissy Spacek, Janice Rule, and Robert Fortier.
Okay. So the other film we'll be comparing is Persona. It is about a nurse is put in charge of a mute actress and finds that their personas are melding together. It was made by, the director is Ingmar Bergman. The actresses are Bibi Andersson, Liv Ullmann. Those are the main actresses. I don't know the male.
That's really the main 2. They carry the whole entire film. They're really the only ones on screen.
And it was made in 1966.
Mm-hmm. All right. I think let's talk about 3 Women first because I have a lot more to say about Persona.
We should probably say why, because I know last week we announced we were only doing 3 women. We should probably explain why we're doing a comparison now.
Yeah, so Savanna had messaged me after watching 3 Women. She was like, this is exactly like Persona. Like, this is straight from the books, exactly like Persona. So then I said, okay, I'm going to watch both of them. Now, do you want to make the podcast and you want to talk about both of them and their similarities, which I thought was a brilliant idea because there definitely is a lot of similarities / I don't know what a gentler word is. I'll say rip off.
I think that like the director, I'll give him some credit. He does say Persona is a major influence. So I feel like they try to do their own thing. They try to take sort of the root of Persona, do their own thing, but it kind of ended up being a copy with a few revisions.
So before we get into the comparison, how about let's give to the people who haven't seen the film, if we recommend Three Women, if we recommend Persona, or if we recommend both. So Savannah, why don't you tell me what you recommend, don't recommend, or both?
So I recommend Persona just because I think it's a better story. I think it makes way more sense than the plotline of Three Women. I think Persona also keeps you on the edge of your seat. It is a thriller. And again, like I said, I think the plot makes a lot more sense than Three Women did. I think the two main girls in Persona have way more chemistry, way more like I said, I just, and let's be clear, Persona did come out before Three Women.
Yes.
And, not saying that like older movies are always better because they're the original, but in this case, like,
yep,
you can definitely see like the quality and the, how do I put this? There was a lot of, I guess, heart put into that film, a lot of energy, a lot of like, you could tell like this was
so in layman's terms, you would recommend Persona, but not so much Three Women.
So not to be, this is going to sound a little cruel, but I wouldn't even recommend Three Women, even if I didn't see Persona.
I'm in a similar boat. I'm not as harsh because there are some elements of Three Women that I did like that I will discuss later. Mm-hmm. But it was the ending that that really ruined it for me for Three Women. I did not care for the ending. And I don't think a lot of like, I just don't see the average moviegoer enjoying Three Women. Mm-mm. It's a very specific niche film that I think only like, I don't know, like I could appreciate the film, but compared to Persona is immaculate in every way, shape, and form. And Three Women it just feels like not a bad attempt, but someone who wanted to be like Bergman, and it just kind of fluttered down.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So do you want to get into Three Women first? Because I feel like we have a lot to say about Persona.
Yeah, so let's get into Three Women first, get that out of the way. And then Persona, I have a lot more to talk about because it's definitely, especially like Three Women, the ending is kind of like point blank, I'll say. Yeah. Persona has a lot of, you can imagine whatever the hell you want with the ending of Persona. So with Three Women, some pros that I really enjoyed about Three Women, I liked the characters. I loved the intro because the intro kind of brought you in and you're like, what is going on? Mm-hmm. And I thought I appreciated the acting done by Sissy Spacek, who plays Pinky, and Shelley Duvall, who plays Millie. I appreciate the actresses. But other than that, that's about it.
I have to agree. I love Shelley Duvall. I haven't seen a lot of her films, so when I heard she was in it, I was like, ooh, I get to see something else. I like, a little bit off topic, but I like Shelley Duvall's look. I always thought she was a very like interesting looking woman in a very positive way.
I wrote that down because I looked to my mom because my mom was watching this movie with me. Poor woman, she hated it. My mom was like, I sat for 3 hours for this. Like, she was not so happy with the movie. But I looked at her and I said, I've never seen, like, just comparing Sissy Spacek to Shelley Duvall. I was like, there are those two women, no women have ever looked like them. Like, they are the most interesting looking women. They're not standard conventional beauty, but I've never seen anyone who looks like them.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean that in a positive way because I like interesting looking people. I think they're cool.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely, like, they're not, like I said, conventional beauty, but I think that's what makes them beautiful. Like, you'll never be able to compare them. Like, no one looks like Shelley Duvall, and absolutely no one looks like Sissy Spacek.
Yeah, definitely. I did like Shelley Duvall in the movie. I did like the setup, I guess, for it. But again, I do feel like they worked at a physical therapy place, I believe, right? It's like an old for
Yeah.
older people. And again, it was just too close to Persona because one of the girls are a nurse. So
And
when
by the
I
way,
saw
here's your
that,
spoiler warning. We're gonna start unraveling the spoilers.
yeah. So basically I didn't think a lot of it made sense. So what I mean by that is like these girls just work together and then Pinky is this awkward, like childlike, just wants to make friends. And you see Shelley Duvall's kind of like socially awkward. No one really talks to her. And they kind of just like gravitate toward each other. And then like 5 minutes after knowing each other, like, let's move in together now. And it was just really, it was a little weird to me. Because, but then I guess you could also say like they were both social issues. They have both social issues. So they were just like, yeah, like we understand each other.
Yeah.
But it also didn't make sense to me because what was her name? Millie, Shelley Duvall's character, always seemed a little annoyed with Pinky. But yet they're going to move in together. Like Pinky was sort of this person that latched on to her.
I think it was because Shelley Duvall's character, Millie, never had really any friends in there. Like she would talk to people and they would never listen to her. And my issue is I wish they went more in depth into that because was everyone just rude? Because I like the way that they portrayed Millie was not like, I mean, she was like a little crazy, but not like I'm not talking to her,
Yeah,
type of deal.
I thought it was weird. I just, and again, like if Millie didn't have any friends, if Millie was this, and you could see she's socially awkward and you could see like this and that, but it just seemed like Millie was always done with Pinky. She was always kind of like, yeah, like this is my little sidekick and she follows me around. Like it was just very, it didn't seem like a real friendship from the get-go.
And that's where I think, because and where we start seeing how Pinky knows how Millie feels about her is through the use of a journal, which is it mimics to Persona and how the character Alma finds out how her client knows about her and like talks about her through a letter. So that was one of the similarities was by Pinky in Three Women and Alma in Persona, both figuring out what their, what the other main character thought about them.
Yeah, and then the whole like Millie starts blaming Pinky for like her issues. Let's just be honest. Like when they're roommates, Millie is like sleeping with a married man, and then like Millie's guest or friends were kind of like, oh, here comes Millie. And she kind of is just like lashes out on Pinky and she's like, well, you don't do this and you don't know that. Like, you're weird. Nobody wants to be your friend. Like, get out of my life. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Like, part of me, I know they needed something for like the climax of the film, but it just didn't make a lot of sense to me.
It didn't jive. You know what I wrote on my list? I wrote in terms of like, because, for me, I'm also always looking at directing too. There were too many zooms. I just wrote, I was like, they did too many close-ups where they just zoomed in on like a person's face. I was not for it. They did it like 18 times. I was like, Robert Altman, please give me something else. Give me a little more flavor. You're just giving me pepper. And it was very like, I just remember being visibly upset. I was like, there's too many zooms.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't. And then, okay, then there's this gypsy woman in the middle of the film.
Millie, Willie, and Pinky. They should form a band.
Paints and shows up sometimes.
Now, I think her artwork, first of all, did not care for the artwork that was used. It was not mesmerizing in any way. It was terrifying, and I kept wanting to look away. I'm sorry to whoever artist made that design, but I did enjoy the fact that I could see hidden messages. Like Willie, the character, was pregnant, and there would be this weird lizard hybrid humanoid thing. That was what the artwork was. The lizard hybrid humanoid is what I'm just going to call it. That it was this lizard hybrid humanoid was pregnant and it was fighting with, it looked like a male. And so I assumed that was her relationship with her husband. And so I did see little reveals in it, but at the same time, I didn't care about Willie enough to analyze the artwork.
No, it should have been called 2.5 Women because Willie didn't do anything. Willie didn't contribute anything to the film. Let's be honest. Besides that ending part we'll talk about in a minute.
Oh my God.
She didn't do anything for the movie. There was no 3 women. There were no 3 women.
I wondered, because, I thought of that. I was like, Willie shouldn't be included as the 3 women. I wonder if the 3 women is Millie, Pinky, and that hybrid personality between them that Sissy Spacek kind of experiences from moment to moment. So I wonder if really that's the 3rd woman. I hope so. I hope it's not Willie.
I'm going to be honest. I feel like that's a good assumption. But I also feel like maybe he added Willie because he realized, like, okay, if I say 2 women or if I call it something like whatever, it's going to be too similar to Persona.
I think that's fair. I thought the character Willie had the right intentions of being added in, meaning the fact that they had this friend where that Millie was sleeping with her husband created drama, but then they brought Willie too much into it and it just didn't jive.
I think we should have learned more about Willie because I don't know anything about Willie. Do you?
I didn't know anything about Willie. I didn't know anything about Pinky and why Pinky was so messed up. I mean, if her parents were really her parents, that explains it, but she denies that it was her parents. And then Millie was weird from the get-go. Nobody liked her, and we didn't know really why. There had to be more to it. I mean, I could just be a nice person, and I'm like, why is everyone hating on Millie? But
you know what? Another thing that really, annoyed me, do you know the twins in the film?
Yeah.
Millie makes a comment and she's like, oh, well, you'll learn about them. No, you don't learn about them.
You never learn about them.
And I feel like they were just as oh, that's the parallel between Millie and Pinky. It wasn't because I don't know. I don't know anything. And I was just upset because nobody ever talked about the twins. I was interested in
read about the twins, and the whole reason why the twins were added in was because the director went to a diner and the twins were waitresses at there. And he was like, oh, you cool, you two are cool. I'm going to add you in my movie. That was it.
That's really
You just thought they were cool.
I was disappointed when the twins were never brought up ever again. So
let's see. I'm going down my list. I did enjoy the music. I'm going to say 2 more pros. I did enjoy the music, and I did enjoy the set building. I really enjoyed because I liked, if you looked in the room, like with the apartment that Millie and Pinky lived in, it was nothing but yellow, and I appreciated the consistency of yellow. But why yellow?
It's a happy color. I don't know. There's probably some kind of psychology behind it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, and I wrote in all caps, very weird, too many zooms. Remember that scene where Sissy Spacek is on the bed and she's laughing with Willie's husband, and she's doing the most weirdest laugh?
Yeah.
It's almost like at first I was like, is she trying to imitate Millie's laugh? But then again, I hadn't heard Millie laugh.
I don't know.
So I didn't know.
Dude, you know what? That's another thing that didn't make sense to me. So Millie yells at Pinky, and then Pinky tries to commit suicide. Okay. So then Pinky goes to the hospital, and then she wakes up, and, the nurse is saying, oh, she probably has amnesia. And then Pinky decides that through her amnesia or whatever, she's going to be Millie or start acting like Millie. That I don't understand that either. Because if she had amnesia, how could she start acting like Millie?
Yeah. I mean, it could have been like she only remembered what she read in the diary, and she only remembered because, the whole situation did revolve around Millie, but I think it was a far stretch.
I just feel like, okay, it could be a subconscious thing. I understand what they were trying to go for, but again, when and we're going to compare a little bit here, when you look at what Persona was and why those 2 characters started sort of melding together, and then you look at 3 women, not only did it not make sense, but for me, it wasn't a good enough reason. It's not like Millie was cool. It's not because in Persona, the other person involved was an actress.
Yes.
And Millie and Pinky, besides Millie maybe having more self-confidence, knowing a little bit more people, they were kind of the same. They had emotional and social issues. So there was
nothing really to switch. there was nothing really to switch personalities with.
It just, again, a lot of this movie, it didn't make sense to me. And she didn't start acting like Millie. She started acting not very nice. I don't want to curse on air, but you know what word I'm going for, so.
Yeah. B word.
Yeah,
the big
Millie,
old B word.
I didn't think Millie, besides her yelling at her, Pinky, I didn't think she was that word.
I think it just kind of created conflict out of midair. It didn't feel right. And then also, let's just jump into the ending. The ending didn't make sense.
No, it didn't.
If someone gave 3 women to me and was like, Stephanie, you direct it, I would only use Willie for the sake of the whole cheating to add drama. And then I definitely wouldn't have gone anywhere near where Robert Altman did. It was just pretty much a stretch. But what I thought was going to happen was I thought after waking up from this coma, Pinky, because they also set it up. They also set it up where Millie just so happens to go back to work, and then she finds out that Pinky used her birth certificate, Millie's Social Security card to sign up for work. What I thought was going to happen was Pinky was going to wake up from this coma and kill Millie and take over her life. Or at least take over Millie's life and have Millie kill herself in the process because she couldn't handle it. That's where I would have gone with it because it kind of set it up for it. And I think it would have made sense.
That would have been a better story because at the end of the movie, they're both calling each other Millie.
Yeah.
Why? That doesn't... Well, I mean, I understand because Pinky's actual name is Mildred. But... Mm-hmm.
And I thought that that's how it was going to be set up because there's also visions. So Pinky also has visions of Millie killing Pinky and Pinky killing Millie. So that's how I thought it was going to set up. And maybe they'd have that weird, bizarre, happy thing where they just decide to live with each other and just be the same person. So that could have also happened. But instead, it's almost like in the end... So in the end, let's talk about the birth scene. That was unnecessary. And my dad in the other room was like, I was afraid you guys were watching a porno because it was just nonstop moaning.
You know, here's the thing. After the baby dies, after Willie's babies die, they come up with a plan. All of them. And they said, let's kill him. And then live together on a ranch.
You mean the husband, right? Willie's husband?
Yes, let's kill Willie's husband. And I don't know if they ever discussed that they all were with him at one point in the movie. I don't know if that was discussed, but they all kill him.
And then it's weird. Like Willie acts like a grandmother. Pinky acts like a kid, and then Millie acts like a mom. And it's like supposed to be like this very nice and lovely Brady Bunch ending. No. No.
Well, here's the thing. Instead of murdering each other, they murder some external character that's not even really a part of the movie besides to add drama and besides to kind of have Willie in there somewhere.
Yeah, I didn't even my mom was like, I watched this for 3 hours. It was just not it was not a satisfying ending in any way.
No, the movie went nowhere. The movie went nowhere.
And, you know, it's not satisfying because it didn't make sense. And this whole movie started off strong and ended up very weak, in my opinion. And this is not in comparison to Persona. This is just how I think about the movie on its own.
I agree.
It just ends very, very weak from how it started off.
Just on its own, it's bad, but like when you compare it to Persona, it's even worse. I think.
Oh my God, it doesn't even hold a candle to Persona.
Now I have a question for you in your expert opinion.
Okay.
Why do you think it's in the Criterion channel?
I think because it's the same way I think about Eraserhead, where it's daring. It's definitely, you'll never see anything like the ending of Three Women, although it is compared, and I see there are some film elements I do appreciate in Three Women. Like, I thought the scene where you see Sissy Spacek and you see like the water dividing the screen, like the water in the fish tank, and you can see her going in and out of personality. I thought that was a great visual. I thought it was fantastic. And if I was a director, I wouldn't have changed that. Like, I thought that was a great, great visual. And I think that is why it's in the Criterion.
That one scene.
But and you know what's weird? Like, I thought of this. It reminds me, the movie, just watching it, it didn't necessarily scream Persona. It just kind of screamed a bad David Lynch film to me.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I realized it was like Persona was in the middle of the film.
When she reads the diary?
Yeah. And I was just, wait a second. But okay, I mean, because I didn't really, I see what you're saying now because I wasn't too sure on why this was in the Criterion channel.
And there are, like I said, there are elements to appreciate about this film. I like the acting. I like the characters. I just don't like this, I want to say the last hour, it just derailed. But even with that last hour derailing, you can still appreciate the first two. That doesn't mean it's a great film, but you can still look at the elements and go, hey, there's a lot of good elements. And also, I think this film is in there because it inspired a lot of other directors. This definitely had inspired David Lynch and other more experimental filmmakers. And I think it also shows how, I always say Ingmar Bergman had influence over directors.
I agree. I think you're right. There are a few things in this movie that you can appreciate. I do like the beginning a lot. I think the beginning is a good setup, and I think, again, I loved Shelley Duvall in this movie. But okay, so since we're done with Three Women, what do you give it as a score?
5.7.
Oh, that's crazy. I wrote down 5.5.
Nice. You're doing decimals now. I'm getting in your head.
We're on the money. Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna do, because it wasn't a 5 for me. I was like, that's a rough. So I was like, 5.5 is, give it half of a point.
You know what's funny? As soon as you said that's on the money, this is such a random topic. I guess this is a little like 1 minute break. You know what my boyfriend keeps saying? Like, if something is not good.
What?
He keeps telling me, he's like, oh, that's not cash money. I'm like, dude,
why?
You live in the middle of nowhere, Florida, and you were saying that's not cash money? I'm sorry, that just reminded me of it. I was like, Jesus.
I can actually picture that. That's really funny.
Like I'm like, oh, like I was telling him about like my teachers. I'm like, oh, my teacher, and he's like, that's not very cash money of her. Like, but he's saying it seriously. So shout out to you, Zach.
If you don't,
that's stuck in my mind.
He's not gonna like that I'm saying this, but if anybody hasn't seen Stephanie's boyfriend, just picture Tom Cruise saying that's not very cash money of you, and that is her boyfriend.
I have a feeling right now he's gonna cut this part out. He's gonna go, oh, I'm sorry. Did you guys talk about me? I didn't hear it when I was editing.
No, he better not.
But
the world needs to know.
But it's like my best kept secret.
No.
It's like my weapon of conversation. It's like people are like, oh, this is my partner. I'm like, oh yeah, and they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I know. It's like Tom Cruise, but without the Scientology part.
So it's great.
Is Tom Cruise a Scientologist? Yes.
Yeah, he's a big Scientologist.
Yes, he is. Okay. All right.
I have a little movie fact.
Tell me.
You ever see The Master with Joaquin Phoenix and Philip
Hoffman
Seymour? So it's basically based off.
Wait, you switched names. Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Oh, I'm sorry. Rip. I'm sorry. It's basically about. It's based on Scientology, and I believe it's based on how it started. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, anybody, but I know it's based on Scientology. So basically, somebody, I don't know if it was the director or somebody from the movie, showed Tom Cruise the film, and apparently Tom Cruise got very upset.
Oof.
Because it's a great movie. We should review it one day, but it sort of
The guy who showed Tom Cruise that Tom Cruise must have looked at him and said, "That's not very Cash Money of you to show me this."
No, yeah, apparently he flipped out. But the movie is great because it sort of shows the manipulative side of things like that. So just a little insert, but anyway.
Okay, good interlude. That was a good commercial break.
Thank you.
Commercial break is just us talking.
A little break from the seriousness. No, but we are going to talk about Persona now. And I do have a few facts that I want to share at the end. But what did you think of it, Steph? Because I know it was your first time seeing it.
I thought it was fantastic. I was like, as soon as like the intro hit, I was like, yes, like keep going. Like this is what I like, because it felt like it was visual poetry.
Yeah.
But with this director, all his heart, all his brain power, everything. You can really tell. It's so easy, at least for me, it's very easy to tell when a director really puts effort in and when a director doesn't. I do think Three Women had effort in from the director, and that's another reason why I appreciate it. It didn't feel like just like a here's a blockbuster just for you guys. It was just eat it up so I can make money.
It was just not organized.
It was just not organized, and it didn't have. But I do think Robert Altman's heart was fully entwined in Three Women. But I think like Ingmar Bergman gave his soul in this film, and it was beautiful and stunning. I loved it. I thought the story was great. Everything. I like 10 out of 10 in my book. It's a classic for sure.
I think the star of the show is definitely B.B. Anderson. I know Liv Ullmann.
Liv Ullmann.
She's in a lot of Bergman films in general. She's very
so is
good.
BB. BB has been in like, I was reading facts. BB was in 13 of Bergman's films.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Wow. I know Liv Ullmann from Scenes of a Marriage.
Mm-hmm.
But B.B. Anderson was fantastic.
It's very hard.
Every word that was coming out of that woman's mouth the whole movie.
Yeah, and it's like I realize like if I were to make a movie like this, it's incredibly hard to have two actresses where the entire story just surrounds them. It doesn't entwine their atmosphere. It just entwines two characters. These actresses pulled it off. And at first I was like, these two girls look nothing like each other. And then in the end, I was like, I can't tell who's who. Like, I thought their acting was on both of them. Even like Liv Ullmann, even though she doesn't speak, there's a great sense of acting done in her eyes, in her facial reactions, in her movement. And I still thought that was great.
Especially towards the end of the movie. I thought the fact that the film was in black and white was just genius, because this movie came out in 1966 where like color was available.
Technicolor was a thing. Yeah.
And like you said, like these women don't really look alike, but with the use of like shadows and certain lighting and the black and white, like I believed it that they were starting to look alike.
It could be seen as a play on them. Like between these women, there is nothing black and white between them. Like their characters are so different, and yet they are able to diverge together. And also what I do appreciate is that Bergman, the ending is up to everyone's interpretation, and he does not have a set ending on it. I appreciate that, because I think with movies like this, it's very psychological, and psychologically everyone's going to view this movie differently. So I like the fact that the ending is very open to your interpretation.
I mean, and the film is very controversial. I can't say that word. Controversial.
I'll say it for you.
Thank you. Just because we'll talk about that one. There's one famous scene in this movie. And it was quite graphic for the time.
I was watching it like at midnight last night. I almost woke up the house because I was like, oh, like I was not expecting it from the film. But I have like my own theory of what it's supposed to mean. But overall, the intro, the music is great. The intro is great. Kind of sucks you in immediately with that visual poetry.
So we should probably set up the plot a little bit more so we can get into details. Do you want to set up why these two women are together? Like,
yeah. So pretty much, you have this. I'll say, not therapist, because she was a nurse. You have this nurse named Alma, Sister Alma, who is assigned to this actress, and this actress Elizabeth, out of nowhere while on stage, she that while performing, she goes quiet for a minute. And then she starts back up. And then I believe next day or a few days later, she goes mute. And at the time, she has been mute for 3 months. She hasn't spoken anything to anyone. She hasn't said anything to anyone. And because she is such a high status actress, they transfer her out of this little, this therapy hospital, I'll call it. And they transfer her into a beach house where the nurse stays with her and just works on her therapy and watches her there. And so they're supposed to write, both of them are supposed to write what's going on at this beach house to the doctors. So that way they have, some sort of control. So the doctor has some sort of control over the situation. And that is how these two women are literally immersed with each other physically, because they are stuck at this beach house. How long were they at it for? I think it was a few months, right?
I think so. I think it was a long time.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that's where things start happening, is really at the beach house. There's some light things at the hospital, but it's at the beach house is where it starts. So what did you not only think of the characters, but what did you think of the storyline?
So I thought the storyline was very, very well done because it's a very steady process. You kind of see these two women, like the nurse starts talking to her, and you kind of see, I wasn't expecting Alma to be that character at all, which I loved, because you find out some things about Sister Alma that I was taken by complete surprise. And I personally liked how the nurse was the one that ended up completely opening up, where we don't really see that from the actress as much. And
I also wrote down, I enjoyed how they go, like there's this sense of role reversal in the film where the nurse and the client kind of switch at one point and they become each other in terms of a role, in terms of client versus nurse.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that. I really did appreciate that.
Yeah. So I think it was very well done because in the middle of a film, I think there's a bunch of climaxes in this movie, but the most, I guess, because I sort of knew about the scene before I even watched the movie the first time. It's a very famous scene where the nurse gives the actress some pretty damning information about herself, like incriminating information that could sort of ruin her life. And that's when you sort of see there's a shift in relationship, which I absolutely love. And that scene was crazy. Even for that time period, that graphic, obviously not like what they were saying was graphic more, I should say.
So do you want to explain what makes it so graphic? What happened?
So Alma starts talking to the actress about something. And then she sort of gets into this day at the beach with her friend. And basically what happens is she and the friend have an orgy at the beach with two young boys. And I did some research because in the movie, you don't know how old the boys are. But in the script, they were 13 and 16.
Ooh, wait, so this is when Alma is opening up to Elizabeth, right? And she's explaining what's going on.
Yeah. And then she tells the actress she got pregnant. And basically she kind of got in luck because her fiance, she has a fiance, may I add, during all of this, didn't want kids either. And you see Alma sort of, how do I say this? What's the best word? The weight that situation has on her. That she can't really handle the fact that, like, she had an abortion. And the best part about that scene, I think, is the actress's reaction, which is not a lot. It's almost like it's a very interesting reaction. She wasn't like, her eyes didn't open up. She wasn't like, oh my gosh. She just kind of stood there. Same expression.
And I think also, remember, in the end, you realize that Elizabeth, there's this scene where it's almost like Alma is interrogating her. and I wrote down, they repeat to her twice what Elizabeth did and why she's in this situation, why she's put herself in this mute situation.
Yeah.
And I think that's why she didn't react, because she thought her own story was way worse. But when you said the most shocking thing, I didn't think you were talking about that scene. I thought you were talking about the part when Alma is talking to Elizabeth. She puts her arm down, starts scratching and scratching and scratching at her arm till she bleeds. And then Elizabeth drinks from it.
No. I was just saying, for me, it was the most shocking scene because I didn't expect that from the character. And because in 1966, you weren't seeing a lot of that graphic. And we're talking also about pedophilia here.
Yeah, like it's... and even though, because people might not know about the pedophilia, just that scene alone is very graphic. Like, just that scene alone is very graphic.
Like, she goes into
not
detail.
To sound like a prude or anything, but yeah, she goes into detail, and it's still like, it doesn't feel like, oh, girl talk. Like, it doesn't feel like that.
No,
it feels like a confession of a crime, and that's what makes it so much more unsettling.
Yeah, so obviously the blood drinking is not, but the reason I thought it was most controversial is because the fact of like, it's a very graphic part of the movie, and you didn't see a lot of things like that back then. And I liked her reaction. I like that you kind of see Alma in a different way now. Because
and she changes from that point on, and she really changes because she pours her heart out into Elizabeth, and she discovers that Elizabeth is writing to the doctor about Alma's orgy and abortion story, and she reads this letter, and it's one of those things where I think she realizes that her world and this facade of like how she's like, oh, I have a good job, I have a wonderful fiance, like my life is very good. I think she starts realizing that image of her is crashing.
And I think like when she was confessing about those things, at the end she goes, how could I be two people at once? How could I? So I really like the duality of just her character, because it seems like she has this, obviously, like, most of us are going to hear those stories and be like, that's kind of disgusting. Like, okay, like we're not going to. And that's why I was also surprised of Elizabeth reaction, her reaction to it. She just didn't say anything and she hugged her. Most of us are going to hear that story and be like, ew, that's kind of, you got issues. That's disgusting. That's also a crime, by the way. But I feel like when she read those letters, she felt that shame. And she's just like, oh no, like, not only do I have to live with this, now everybody else is going to know. And the only person I've ever told in the world just told my biggest secret. Yeah,
it's like the mute person, the person who's not said a word. And I think that's also the huge gravity of the situation, is that the person who hasn't spoken a word in 6 months told someone about what I said, because she thinks that she has this total immunity. This girl has been mute for 6 months. She can't be judged based off what this girl says. She can't be, she can't tell anyone else, and yet she still does. And that's where I think almost like her craziness comes in, because she then keeps asking Elizabeth, I need you to talk. Because at that point it becomes like, well, if you haven't talked this whole time, yet you're able to tell the doctor what I say, at least say it. I think it's that kind of situation.
Yeah, and I also think it's sort of like, in the letter, you notice that Elizabeth doesn't give a lot of her opinion. She's just kind of like, yeah, she's interesting to study, and then she told me about the orgy and the abortion, but she doesn't say what she thinks of it. It's a very matter-of-fact letter. So I also think Alma's kind of just like, well,
by the way, I apologize if you can hear the lawnmower. Tony is mowing the lawn right now, so I apologize.
No, it's fine. I can't really hear it.
Okay, cool.
But I also think it's a sense of like, well, talk to me. Tell me what you think. If you could write that in a letter, like, tell me what you think. Tell me what you think of me. Tell me what you think of me. So I also think it's a sense of like, you have something to say to me, but you're not going to say it.
Yeah, like I think she's also frustrated because she's like, I know like what everyone else thinks. You're going to say something bad, and you need to just say it. Because I don't know, maybe it's kind of like she doesn't want to be off guarded when it is revealed to her, or like she just doesn't want this to settle and sit within her. So like for a movie that came out in this time period, and the advancements in therapy were not as good the advancements today, and yet this still is very, and I'll say relatable to the climate of today's psychology even more, because now today, and that's why I think this film is so stunning, because at the time you would only see that merging of personalities with clients like that, like a one-on-one experience. Today you can see it with people following other people like idols on Instagram. You can see that happening now today in real life within social media. So I thought that this film is utterly timeless because of that.
So one of the things that like showed me that Alma was like sort of losing her mind was when like she reads the letter, she goes home and she starts like sort of not screaming but taunting the actress a little bit, and then she ends up hitting her, and then the actress runs away. And then Alma's like, no, I'm sorry. I idolize you. I've seen all your movies. Blah, 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 blah. So I feel like there's also a fragility there. Like you kind of see like a mental breakdown happening to where like she's angry at this woman because she confided in her. And I'm sure that the actress, that was a choice she made. She's like, you know what? I'm going to tell this woman's secret. And when she runs after her, I think she realized like, no, I have to keep her on my good side.
Yeah, because she could easily tell everyone that secret, like, because she knows she has the ability to talk. She realizes after that moment, she has the ability to talk. So I think it's also like trying to get on her good side so she doesn't tell anyone.
Yeah, so I think just going back to Three Women, the plot of this movie makes a lot more sense.
Yes.
And, you know, I think the chemistry between both women are much better. Especially towards the end of the movie.
Now, I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. What did you think about the scene where Alma is sleeping with Elizabeth's husband?
You know, I kind of feel like that was the nail in the coffin.
And explain to me, in what way?
When I think it means two things. I think it's sort of like a revenge. Like, you told my story, I'm going to take something from you now. And it was sort of kind of like, if you tell anybody what I did, I got with your husband. So, but I also think it was sort of like,
you can't say anything because then everyone know you're lying. You're lying.
Yeah. And I think it also is sort of the mending again. You kind of, I feel like she has also, this is the part where when she sleeps with her husband, where you kind of see them start to touch, not in that way, but how do I say it? Connect. And I think by sleeping with her husband, it's sort of this, not to sound creepy, but it's sort of this bond now.
Now, do you think, because one of my things that I had a hard time connecting with on this scene was that this husband calls Alma Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Was it an act? Was it a metaphor for the situation? Like, what do you think that was about? Because clearly it's Alma. And yet he's calling this woman Elizabeth. Why was that?
I mean, I think it could be sort of, I was not too sure, and I'm not too sure now, but it definitely could be a metaphor of the two women. Because this is towards the end of the movie. They actually do look very much alike.
Yes.
The director does a good job of sort of like not, you know who's who, but like you start to realize like, oh my God. So I feel like that's the beginning of that, to where like I said before, their personas are starting to actually mend. And I feel like him calling her Elizabeth is just the first sign of like, oh, these women are
wondered if, because after not talking and not being able to do that, I mean, I bet some people would lose their mind as well. Because you see the husband and Alma talking while Elizabeth is in the frame. Now, the way that it's pictured, I wondered if Alma hears, Elizabeth hears Alma sleeping with her husband, and everything else is just what she's imagining in her head.
Ooh, that's an interesting one.
Because just the way that the perspective is that you see Alma like staring dead into the camera. It feels like almost what she's imagining based off what she's hearing.
I think that's a good assumption, but remember, doesn't she get pregnant?
I thought that was Elizabeth.
Oh.
That was Elizabeth before. So that whole speech when Alma is talking to Elizabeth and she's like, you got pregnant, but you couldn't be a mother, blah, blah, blah. That happened all before because when Alma is talking, because when Alma is talking to the husband, to Elizabeth's husband, Mr. Vogler, he's saying like, oh, like the kid, blah, blah, blah. Like, and she's like, oh, buy him a present. And I think the reason why Elizabeth went mute is because she had a kid that she couldn't stand. And even when this kid deserves love, she can't give it to him because she can't stand him. Rather than getting rid of her family, rather than doing that, she doesn't want to feel the pain anymore of this burden on her. So she decides to be mute. And I think that's also where this doctor, in the earlier in the film, tells her like, you could have committed suicide, but you didn't. You could have done all this stuff, but you didn't because you don't want to feel.
I think I didn't think of that. So I think the whole metaphor with the sleeping together.
It's a hard interpret.
But I think you're onto something with that because I got confused. I thought Alma got pregnant, but if that's not the case, then that definitely could have been sort of like a dream sequence, like you were saying.
And I might have think the confusion is because I wrote down when they're telling, like when the speech is telling, when they're telling Elizabeth, like, you got pregnant, you couldn't stand it. That whole speech is repeated twice.
That's right.
And it's repeated from two different perspectives. So I even wrote down, why did they repeat the baby story? And I wondered if maybe that happened. Like, I think you could be right with that. Like, maybe Alma did become pregnant after sleeping with him, and that became her story. But the original story as to why Elizabeth is now mute is because of that baby story.
And I really like that because I'm just going to make the comparison of Alma had to get an abortion, but she literally now has to deal with the psychological weight of getting rid of her baby. When we see that, like, that wasn't a choice that she made just because it was sort of like she had to do it because it was, the orgy baby. And then we see Elizabeth that had a kid, but literally does not want the child so much that she has gone mute.
And I wondered if also that repeat of the story for the baby was what Elizabeth knew. Because there's one scene where the camera is just on her, and you see her reaction to what is saying, and you see like a sort of emptiness at revealing of the truth. I wonder if that's what she thought was going to be said, and then it played out the scenario of Alma saying the story in real life, because then the second scene is with Alma telling her. Like, you hear Alma saying it in both places, but it's done repetitively from two different perspectives.
Right.
One is from the perspective of seeing Alma get angry, and the other is from the perspective of seeing Elizabeth just kind of losing this facade that she's built of the muteness.
Right.
So it could be up to your interpretation. There's a lot of stuff with that.
Yeah, there's a lot of.
And I also think the part where Alma cuts herself and Elizabeth bleeds, I think it just shows to the viewer how life draining Elizabeth has become on Alma.
No, yeah, I agree. I also interpreted like that because now Alma has to live with the fact that somebody knows. And Elizabeth can speak. Elizabeth can literally tell anybody she wants. And now she kind of has to live with that. I mean, I also saw it as like a soul tie. Mm-hmm. Like, now they're forever connected.
That's a good one too. So I played like right before I went to bed last night, and I have two theories. One of them is a bit of a stretch though.
For the ending?
For
Oh.
everything.
Okay, because
the first.
I'm going to be honest.
First theory.
I don't know what I
was
think of the ending. I'm a little confused. A little confusion.
Okay, I lied. I have three possible things. So one of them doesn't involve the ending.
Okay.
Do you remember when you see the kid kind of like looking at the wall and there's like a projected image and he's kind of just like reaching at it?
Yeah, the beginning and the end.
I wonder if it's like a metaphor for trying to reach back what you've lost of yourself.
I think that's because I just thought it was the Elizabeth's son just being like, mommy, like
or it could be that because I think it was a photo of Elizabeth. I thought it was a young Elizabeth reaching out and like I don't know, like I thought it was like a kid personality reaching out to who they became.
I like that. The only reason I thought because it looked like a boy to me, and at the end of the movie, it's a projection of Elizabeth, and he's like reaching out to her.
That could be the boy. It could absolutely be the boy. That's a good one. I didn't think of that.
It's the only thing I thought. That's the only theory I have at all.
Okay, so one of the things I've thought of was, and because I was like, why did they repeat the baby story twice? And it's in two different settings. One is at the beach house. One is in the, what was it? One is in the hospital. I wondered if they ever even went to the beach house in the first place.
Oh my God.
I know. Let me finish. I wondered if this was kind of like, I'm going to use the phrase mental playground for Elizabeth, where it's her just thinking about a different scenario since she was stuck in this solitude.
I like that
and I wondered
lot.
if it was her. And so when she hears the speech at the beach house, like you had my dog Molly is barking. I'm sorry. I wondered if the last two scenes where she's repeating the baby story, one takes place in the beach house and the other in the hospital, is because at that moment she's realized everything is an illusion.
Oh my God, that's so good. I would really prefer that. I really like that a lot.
That's what I thought. I was like, maybe, is it this daring? I think that this was all just Elizabeth's illusion on what she thought would happen, because the whole beach house thing is a stretch. It is a stretch that they would go into the doctor's beach house, not even her beach house, the doctor's beach house, that the only way through communicating with the doctor is through telegram, and it just seemed like a stretch to me. So I think, and this is my official theory, I think this was all just a playground for like Elizabeth's train of thought to escape the reality. And then Alma, the nurse, settles in on her reality.
I really, really like that. And I think it makes a lot of sense that she would sort of put Alma in her story, because at the end of the day, if she was stuck in isolation, Alma was the only one that would show up. And
she would put in the grand, she would put that grand story about Alma to not feel bad about herself.
That's crazy. I really like that a lot. And I think I don't think he ever, I think he left the ending to interpretation, right? In general.
Yeah. He doesn't even claim what it means to be, but I don't know, man. I think me and Bergman got the same little thing. Our chakras are aligned. That's what I'm feeling right now.
All right, you heard it from us. That is our official take on Persona. I think that's awesome stuff. That's an awesome.
Thank you.
I'm going to take that and run, honestly. That's what I think of the movie now.
Wow.
Because it makes sense when you said it
I'm
like
just gonna say this.
It made sense.
I'm just going to say this real quick. I think Criterion, if you would like an essay on this to put on the Persona page, hit me up, because I will totally get into my theory.
You heard it from her.
But what were you saying? I cut you off so rudely.
No, it's okay. I really like that a lot, because I think, like you said, it makes a lot of sense, because now they end up back at the hospital at the end of the movie, and Alma's still taking care of her.
Yeah.
I would try to kill her. I'm just going to say that. I would just try to smother her or something. And like the fact that like they end up back there and Alba wouldn't be like, no. Or even Elizabeth would have been like, I'm not going back there with you. It makes a lot of sense. Wow.
Because also Elizabeth kind of just,
when you said
Elizabeth
that,
is the only one who doesn't end. Elizabeth doesn't end the same way anymore, but Alma does. Alma, it seems, except for the whole like gripping like at her arm, and that also could be like Elizabeth's own metaphor of like saying like that was her life. Like that was the Alma was the only thing giving her life in solitude.
Wow, there's bombs going off in my mind right now. That's just insane. Because yeah, I for one, besides a few things, took the story very literal. And what you're saying, I do feel like makes even more sense than the literal story.
Thank you.
So
I appreciate
that. Is our official take. I'm going to take that and run, Steph. I am.
I've watched a lot of David Lynch films and Inception too many times. I do not trust a narrative storyline. I'm always looking for a little something else.
And of course, well, I mean, especially because it's Ingmar Bergman. I want to say Ingrid, but that's somebody else. That's the actress.
No, which, by the way, people think like, oh, Ingrid Bergman was married to Ingmar Bergman. No, but to increase the confusion, Ingmar Bergman did marry a woman named Ingrid, just not the real Ingrid Bergman. But then again, Ingrid Rosen became Ingrid Bergman. So it's a whole to do. It's
very confusing. But
yes.
To close off, I do have a really interesting fact about.
Lay it on me.
So and this is from IMDb, the facts, in case anybody wants to know where I get them from. So according to the director himself, he fell in love with Liv Ullmann during the making of the movie.
Oh.
I don't know if they were ever together, though. I don't know that much, but...
Yeah, they were together. He was also with BB, though. He got with everyone he directed.
Ew. I mean, whatever. Do as you want. But like, wow. All right. I mean, He is a genius. I could see why. I don't know what he looks like, but... Anyway. Yeah, that's what he said. He fell in love with Elizabeth from the movie.
Wow, I could see that. I could definitely see that.
She's a very pretty woman. She's very pretty.
Both of them are very, like their expressions and everything. It's so interesting.
And they're both Swedish, right? Like Swedish actress?
All of them are Swedish, I believe. Okay. So we're going to be changing it up because the next time you hear us, it's going to be The Dead Don't Die we're going to be talking about.
So I wanted to say a little something about this film, a little intro.
On Persona or The Dead Don't Die?
No, The Dead Don't Die.
Okay.
I haven't seen the movie yet, but Stephanie have. It's actually her pick. And when I was doing research on it, it has not so great reviews.
Yeah.
It's like a 5.5 on IMDb. So I'm actually really excited to see it because I know you love it. And
yeah, I really enjoy it.
I know like it does have a pretty, like it's either you hate the movie I see or you really love the movie. So I'm excited to see which category I fall into.
So what I recommend for those of you who are like, I want to watch it. I had to buy the DVD. I had to buy the download because I wanted to review this so bad. I'm like, crap, it's not available to stream. It's not available to rent. So,
which is interesting. Like you actually have to buy it. There's no renting.
Because I looked
anything.
it up. It only made money through digital sales. That's why.
Oh, I see. Okay. So yeah, we're going to be, I mean, when this one comes out, so tomorrow you guys will hear The Dead Won't Die.
Tomorrow, because our new upload schedule is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So 3 times in a row. What more could you want?
Exactly. To hear.
All right. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. Take care.
Bye.